And we're back. This is part 2, ladies and gentlemen. In the last part, if you didn't watch it, and you should go back and watch it, we were just discussing and giving examples about how the Black woman has been persecuted, assaulted, humiliated, and we as Black men need to step up. Period. I won't go into too much detail because that's spoilers. Go back and watch the first episode. But please, Khadija, continue with your presentation.
Okay, so in order to make sure we aren't causing harm to the women we are supposed to protect, let us look at other forms of abuse. Verbal abuse is the act of forcefully criticizing, insulting, or denouncing another person, characterized by underlying anger and hostility. It is a destructive form of communication intended to harm the self-concept of the person and produce negative emotions. There are many different names for emotional and /emotional abuse. This form of abuse is characterized by a person subjecting or exposing another person to behavior that may result in psychological trauma, including anxiety, chronic depression, or PTSD. It affects the mind, often leaving the abused feeling worthless and lacking empowerment. It aims to diminish another person's sense of identity, leaving them to be dependent on the abuser. There's a lot of information about mental /emotional abuse. An example as to how we're failing to protect women from these forms of abuse is posting an ignorant opinion about controversial subjects that has something to do with women being harmed, and using it to get more followers instead of addressing the root of the problem and being dismissive about it when women say it's inappropriate. Spiritual abuse is when someone tries to use religion, scripture, and the teachings in a manipulative manner to justify the mistreatment of women and pulling someone away from their studies and beliefs. There was a Muslim teacher that tried to convince his students that the Holy Quran said that men can have sex with their wives whenever they wanted to. That's spiritual abuse. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that you do not take from a woman something that she does not wish to give.
And he did. That he did.
To continue, we're going to talk about toxic masculinity. There are men who find this term offensive, but I would like to say, what's more offensive than the fact that 1 in 5 Black women are being raped in their lifetime? So we're going to break this phrase down. Toxic is an adjective that means of, pertaining to, affected with, or caused by a toxin or a poison, acting as or having the effect of a poison, poisonous, causing unpleasant feelings, harmful or malicious. An adjective is a word that describes another. The minister uses adjectives. He talks about how there are good Jews who follow the Torah, and there are satanic Jews who follow the Talmud. Good and satanic are adjectives. Toxic masculinity does not equal masculinity. Toxic masculinity and masculinity are like water and oil. It's a term used when a man is expressing what he thinks is masculinity in the way white supremacy, the toxin, tells him to. Toxic masculinity is male chauvinism. It is thinking you're better and stronger than a woman because you're a man. It's telling Black boys and men that they shouldn't cry because that's weak, which leads to them not being able to properly express emotions. So they laugh at women for being too emotional and lash out when they don't know how to handle their own emotions. Toxic masculinity is beating a woman to death because she didn't want to give you her phone number. It's an inflated and fragile ego. Toxic masculinity is thinking that because a woman is in a relationship with you that she owes you sex. Toxic masculinity is thinking that you shouldn't cook or clean because that's what a woman is supposed to do, and therefore you have a messy ass house and eat McDonald's every day. Toxic masculinity is a man deliberately dirtying up his house to see if a woman is wifey material. Toxic masculinity is humiliating a woman by dragging her across concrete to try to throw her into a pool because the mistreatment of women is funny and entertaining. Toxic masculinity is also this happening, and I am about to show a video. So this is a woman from Facebook who was followed around in the store. Oh wait, let me turn up the volume. Sorry.
I feel like you've shown me this before.
Yeah, bye. You're not getting in my car. You tripping. You tripping. Don't, you're not getting in my car. I unlock my door, but you rush to my passenger. You're not getting in my car. Sorry. Camera first. Yep, you are on camera. She can't trust them. No, nigga, I already told you I'm not single, so I don't know why you following me. I'm a look. I even help bitches that's drunk. I'm like rob drunk bitches. Oh, nigga following me around my car. I'm trying to get in. He ran straight to the passenger side. Can you get away from my door so I can get in my car though? Uh-oh. Park door so I can get in my car though. Oh no. Well, there was a lot more to that video, but it is not loading at the moment.
I've shown that video before. I remember you showing this in a previous episode.
Yeah, it continues on where she has to go back into the store and she asks for help for other people in the store to call the police on that man because he would not leave her alone. He kept talking about how, you know, he helps women or he helps bitches and he was still continuing to try to get into her car. That's toxic masculinity. That's not okay. So to continue, if you still find the term toxic masculinity offensive after all of these examples, you need to ask yourself if you identify with some of the things that would fall under this category. Do you think that because you're a man, you can go have all the sex you want, but women have to stay a virgin to be respected? Do you think something that is considered feminine is gay or weak? Do you think that women should be submissive to you when you bring nothing to the table? Do you think that because you're a man, you know more about a subject than a woman just because you're a man? Do you tell women ways to avoid rape is not to wear revealing clothes instead of telling men how not to rape? A great resource to get away from this type of behavior is Manhood: Principles, Parables, Concepts, and Characteristics from the Holy Quran, written by Brother Demetric Muhammad, that you can get at researchminister.com. I wanted to show you a video of a man stopping another man from videotaping up a woman's skirt on the subway by simply placing himself in front of the man. If I remember correctly, that's what happened, but the video was deleted from Twitter. Pausing here.
One thing I wanted to talk about, I didn't want to stop you, of course, because the entire presentation was important. You mentioned ego. Ego is a hell of a thing. I did a live with Naja, I hope that's how you pronounce her name, from New York.
Najia.
And she asked me, what is it about us as males that just don't make us want to listen to Black women, especially when you all are making these points. It's just a running gag, you know, Black women's always mad at us about something. You know, we breathe. It's a list of things we did wrong. It's a whole book and stuff. It's a running gag. But in truth, it's because, one, we're not rooted in Allah, God. And because of that number one thing, it leads to number two, we don't know how to humble ourselves. When you take someone, especially in the condition that we've been put in as Black men, being beaten down on this world, when you hear something, and I want to speak about us, members of the Nation of Islam in particular, FOI, especially coming in or growing up in it, when you hear something like the Black man is God, it's a true statement. It is a true statement. But if you hear that, but there is no teaching to help balance you out, because yes, the Black man is God, but there is still a God over us that we're connected to. Hearing that part after is what keeps you humble and reminds you that you are a microcosm in the macrocosm. You are a You are the piece of a puzzle. You're part of a whole system that God has set up. You're part of a whole, right? But we don't get to that part. We stop at the black man is God. I'm not saying it's all of us. I want to make that perfectly clear. I'm not saying that's all of us, because there are those of us who do study and are humble. I'm just addressing those of us that are not. And we take that whole black man as God. I mean, the whole black man is God. That's the conscious, that's the so-called conscious community in a nutshell. But we take that, we run with it, and our egos get so big that at that point, we've been told we're God. In other words, you can't tell us shit. It's hard to tell someone that. And the same could be said for anyone who hears that kind of teaching, but they haven't been balanced out with the process and what it takes to become that. We take that one phrase, we run with it, we run it into the ground, and we abuse it. And that's why there is no balance in the homes. There's no there's a quote unquote interpreted gender war. That's why we're not open to learning about things such as toxic masculinity, or what I've had to call it so my fiance could understand it a bit better: artificial masculinity. What is something that is artificial? It's not real. It's man-made, fabricated. It is a manufactured lie. So this representation of what people think is masculinity is not it. And if you're perpetuating it, you have become a toxin to the environment. There's no better way to explain that. When we as men learn to be rooted in God and self, and will humble ourselves to listen to our woman, even when it's the hardest. And then that comes with the balance. I feel Sabbath in my ear saying, bring balance to this. Even when, we're hearing the critiques from the women, even if it's coming from a hurt place, from the roughest part, we have to be willing to listen and have that conversation. Of course, yeah, we can express, though I didn't like how you said that, but I understand why you said it. Right? The conversation that is being had. But if we don't have that God within us, then we're not even going to get to that point. All we're going to hear is nag, 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 blah, 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 blah. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. And then it leads to everything you have shown thus far. Ego. It's a dangerous thing when you don't have control over it. So yeah. Floor is yours.
We're going to talk about rape now. This is a very necessary topic because I genuinely don't think people know what rape is, because if they did, we wouldn't have to be saying things like, hey, rape is bad, or hey, stop making rape jokes. Rape is not sex. I don't know what type of porn you watch that makes you think that rape and sex are interchangeable, but they are not. I think it was Dr. Wesley who said that that porn is catered toward the abuse of women and pedophilia. I saw a tweet once where someone said porn has definitely birthed a lot of abusers. There was a woman on Twitter who spoke about how her rape was uploaded to Pornhub, and they didn't take it down until she threatened to sue. The porn you're watching might be someone's rape, so simply stop watching porn. Rape is unlawful sexual intercourse or any other sexual penetration of the vagina, anus, or mouth of another person, with or without force by a sex organ, other body part, or foreign object, without the consent of the victim. It is also the unlawful sexual activity and usual sexual intercourse carried out forcibly or under threat of injury against a person's will, or with a person who is beneath a certain age, incapable of valid consent because of mental illness, mental deficiency, or intoxication, unconsciousness, or deception. So here are some facts about rape. If you're having sex with a woman and she says, "Stop, I don't want to do this anymore," and you continue to do so, that's rape. There are men who have been raped by men. There are men who have been raped by women. A man raping another man is not some of that gay shit. It's rape. A woman's body does not shut down when she is raped. She still orgasms. And the last time I checked, you're not supposed to fear for your life when you orgasm. People who get raped are not asking for it. If someone says no to sex and you keep pressuring them and they eventually say yes, that's sexual harassment. If a girl tells you to put on a condom and you pretend to put one on or take it off during sex, that's rape. She didn't give consent to have unprotected sex, and it's called stealthing. Drugging someone to have sex with them is rape. Grooming is the action by a pedophile of preparing a child for a meeting, especially via an internet chat room, with the intention of committing a sexual offense. A 26-year-old having a 17-year-old as a girlfriend or boyfriend is pedophilia. A person wearing revealing clothes does not deserve to be raped. No one deserves to be raped. A man can rape his wife. That's called marital rape. And this is an account from someone on Reddit. It's titled, "I think my husband raped me this morning." And this person says, "My husband, male 26, and me, female 24, have been married almost 2 years. We have a baby. Today is my first day back from maternity leave, and my husband was not happy about it. He wants me to be a housewife, but I told him no. I feel sad about leaving my baby, but I love my job. I feel like I would lose myself being home all day. I was getting ready this morning, and my husband came in and watched me for a while. I felt like he was glaring at me, so I asked him if he had something to say. He told me to take my dress off. I told him no, I had to leave, and he told me again to take it off. I said no, and then all of a sudden, he just grabbed me by my arm and pushed me onto the bed. He started to push my dress up, and I tried to push his hands away, but he caught my wrist and said, 'Relax, don't make me hurt you.' I said nothing, and I just let him have what he wanted. I felt kind of scared. I started to cry a little, and he just covered my mouth. Then he got up and told me to have fun at work. I called in sick because I felt so terrible. I didn't think he raped me, but I don't want to use that word, but he made me feel horrible. My husband has changed ever since I got pregnant, and he's a lot less calm. I just don't understand. I wish I could be a stay-at-home mom and make him happy, but I feel like I would be miserable. I'm just very confused, and I feel very hurt." That's marital rape. So again, husbands can rape wives. I'm gonna pause right here because I need a sip of water. I'm going to continue. The minister told a story once where his daughter, who was a nurse, was in the emergency room, and a man brought his daughter in. Her face was gray, and as they were trying to save her, they cut away her clothes and saw blood. She was 3 years old, and her father inserted himself into her and split her all the way to the anus. They couldn't save her. The youngest I've heard of someone being raped is 8 months old. Whatever reasons you have in your head as to why people get raped, throw them out the window. It is not and never has been a sex thing. It is a power thing. It is a sick-minded thing. It's a product of war, and that's why it's called booty, because that's what you get after you win a war, to show your power, to abuse the women of that nation. It is a sickness that needs to be completely purged. That's why when we say stop making rape jokes and stop making excuses for rapists who happen to be Black, we mean it. There was a video on Twitter that disturbed me. I didn't click the audio, but what I saw was a black man who was on IG Live, and he was showing his daughter. She was about 5 years old. She smiled at the camera, father-daughter things. Next thing you know, he's lifting her up and bends her over the sofa and pretends to hump her and laughs. There are children being tormented because you're giving rapists and sexual assaulters a safe space by defending them and making light of a serious situation. Slavery didn't happen overnight. It had to gradually build up to where it went. The little things add up. To continue, I'm going to pause right here to talk about this other situation that happened that I felt is necessary to share. There are a lot of things, disturbing things that men say on the internet. When it comes to rape, there was a tweet that said, "Y'all hoes mad y'all wasn't strong enough to fight off that nigga when y'all was 8. Another one said, "Everybody got that one person they'll rape if they got the chance, so y'all shut the fuck up." There's a Twitter thread where someone asked, if 3 men raped your long-term girlfriend/wife, would you stay with her considering it wasn't her fault, or dump her with no remorse? Here are some of the answers. Dump her. There is nothing to do in that situation. It's like a dog you have to put down. Dump her. She was raped by 3 men. The trauma will be too heavy for her for things to be the same or normal. When a girl is raped and gangbanged in the same time, there's no coming back. Damaged goods, physically and mentally. Dump her, because most females carrying that rape wolf are lying. Unless she's willing to obey my every whim, dump her. Damaged goods. Girls with PTSD do not fully recover. She won't be the same girl. Let someone else pick up the pieces. I'm not a fucking therapist, with a laughing emoji and a purple devil emoji. Dump her. Why did she put herself in that position? This is the type of shit that women deal with all the time, unprompted. Just there. I'm gonna pause right here because that was a lot.
I swear, if it wasn't for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would not be on Twitter at all. Because all of that is just...
And it's normalized. It's all normalized. And this is what we call rape culture. This is what's called rape culture. When in this society, rape is not considered as much of a big deal, or it's a big deal if you bring it back to the man's ego, or how the man is seen, or how it would affect him if this happens to someone else, via his long-term girlfriend or wife. It's a culture. It's something that people make fun of and laugh at. That's how normalized it is. All the laughing emojis and the jokes made on IG Live. This is a normalized thing, and this is what you get. And it happens to men and women, boys and girls. It's harmful to everybody. But the fact is that it exists.
It's normalized devilishment. That's what
it is.
It's appalling that all of this exists. And we can't deny it exists. The evidence is there. Google is free. We really have to. We can't keep asking, where are your sources, but we can find this ourselves literally. Khadija put this whole article together.
Right.
And she has shown nothing but evidence. The information is out there. All you have to do is look. Just like the information on Malcolm's assassination, just like the information on what we're actually studying in Dianetics and not Scientology. The information on what toxic masculinity is, on what rape culture is, on what's happening to Black women is, it's all there. has to be accountability.
Accountability. I would also like to say right quick, accountability.
Mhm.
People. Here's the thing. Accountability is not cancel culture.
It's not.
Cancel culture is not accountability. And some people who you won't held accountable need to be canceled completely. And some people who don't necessarily need to be canceled, they might just need to be held accountable. Accountability does not mean throwing people away. I think it was funny. Mark Lamont Hill actually said this on the Breakfast Club when referring to the minister and all the controversial things he feels like the minister has said. And even in his disagreeing with him on certain things, one thing he did say that I thought was interesting was that as Black people, we can't throw each other away so quickly. At the same time,
It's ironic.
my minister never raped nobody. So let's start there. My minister never done anything crazy like this. So some things you just need to cancel people over. Not because your feelings are hurt, not because truth is spoken, and you don't like how it sounds, and he could have said this better or tone. No. Cancel people who are a willful detriment to the community as a whole and refuse to change.
Who continue to BS and have not shown any inclination to change. Two polar opposite examples. J. Cole this week released a song. I understood what he was trying to say. Timing was very bad.
Very, very bad
very
timing on the part of Jermaine. Very bad timing.
But I saw people on the internet saying, "Oh, he's canceled." Like, no, this is like his first real mistake, first offense
that we know about.
Right? Hold him accountable, but don't cancel him because it's not like he hasn't been out there for Black people. He made a whole song for Mike Brown. He was out there in the protests. Kendrick too. Just because you don't see it personally does not mean they're not doing anything. First off. Second, now we're going to go to the opposite side of the fence. R. Kelly. A man who's made so many hits. The R&B king. How many offenses has he stacked up? And yet the only thing you hear is my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. Terrible context in what we're talking about. But that's all you hear. And we'll even take the minister's quote and misconstrue, saying he needs to be cleansed. A need is a necessity. Need is something that is important, that must be implemented. But there's the difference. There's a difference between needing to be cleansed and wanting to be cleansed. As of today, R. Kelly has not shown the willingness, or he has not shown any inclination that he wants to be cleansed from his behavior. And we can attribute it to how he grew up, because we found out certain things about how he was, what happened to him, how he was assaulted and such. But he has not shown any inclination that he wants to be cleansed, that he wants the help he needs. Until he shows that, has to be canceled. Has to be. In order for him to see how serious it is. We have 9 minutes left in this one. So did you want to do a third session, or are you going to try and wrap everything up here?
Depending on how fast I speak, it probably will have to be, but it's almost over. So I'll try to speak fast. So, to continue, there is a video on YouTube called Sexual Assault of Men Played for Laughs. Everyone should go watch that film because it explores how normalized and ubiquitous jokes about the sexual assault of men are used in comedy and how it affects the American culture. To quote the video, notice how these jokes are all designed to demean, humiliate, or emasculate a male character for being the victim or potential victim of sexual violence. Men's vulnerability is an endless source of mockery in mainstream media, and vulnerability that results from sexual violence is no exception. The idea behind the joke here is as obvious as it is toxic, that men who aren't tough or manly enough to avoid being victimized are pathetic and therefore deserving of ridicule or worse. Emasculation jokes are supposed to be funny because in a patriarchal culture like ours, we're meant to think that there is no greater humiliation for a man than to be treated like a woman. One of the reasons these rape jokes pass under the radar is because for straight adult men of able body and mind, the possibility of being sexually assaulted isn't a real concern in their everyday lives. The one exception to that, and it's a big one, are straight adult men who are incarcerated. These jokes also give people permission to continue silencing and shaming survivors. So like I said before, the little things add up. Watch what you say about this subject and how you say it, and realize the normalization of rape is a product of slavery and white supremacy, and if you ignore it, you're just like the enemy. When we first heard about Bill Cosby's situation, there was a Muslim man who posted an unflattering picture of one of his accusers, who was a white woman, and said, "Why would he rape that?" There was another Muslim man who tweeted, "Why would Bill Cosby rape all these white women when Rudy and Claire were right there?" This shows that women are not valued in the eyes of men. It shows that the struggle we as women have to deal with is not tangible to men. This shows that we don't fully understand how serious this subject is. There was a social media personality that was extremely upset by the fact that R. Kelly was accused of rape, saying, "Well, our ancestors were raped by white people." There are also various other posts saying things like, "Well, what about surviving white people?" I think I'm going to pause right here because there's a lot more to be said than I thought.
Yup. Y'all kill me. They killed me with the surviving white people one. And there was constant there was this constant list that people were trying to say, we need a surviving white people, we need a surviving slavery, we need a surviving the Catholic Church. Where is that at? You know how many documentaries there are of sexual abuse in the Catholic Church on Netflix alone, on YouTube alone, how many slave movies we have, how many Birth of a Nation is surviving white people. Real talk. Roots is surviving white people. We have so many black, look, Hidden Colors is surviving white people. Like, so there's so many documentaries, and that's how I know that argument was only made to want these rapists to get off and be in the clear just like white men. There's no accountability, there's no saying that what they did was wrong. It's just so that so that they can finally have that privilege of being a man applied to them as black men. But we have surviving ... We always have had that. But the problem is we don't watch them because it shows a bad image, right? It shows us as being docile or slaves, right? But we have so many resources where we can see all the evil things, the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks. You know, we have so many things. Even just reading stories about Sarah Bartman or the degrading zoos that they had black people in, indigenous people in. That's surviving white people, and there's a documentary on that. So we have it. Just because you didn't see it, there's stories out on Harvey Weinstein, documentaries that were made. We have those. We have surviving white people. We have a lot of them. What we don't have is people owning up to their stuff.
Being held accountable.
Being held accountable.
At the end of the day. And the point of this whole episode was, like I said, this is not a beat down session. Just the facts have to be provided. But at the end of the day, we, particularly we as black men, have to be held accountable and do better by our women. And deal with those who are misrepresenting us in the community. Because we know good black men exist.
Of course.
Where are they when our women are being mistreated, though? Where are we when our women are being mistreated? Can't be just behind the camera anymore. But to end this on the highest of high notes, I'm sure the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to address this on July 4th. Tune in, NOI.org/webcast, July 4th. I guarantee you all of this and more is going to be addressed. And the black men listening, listen to black women. Respect black women, protect black women, and love black women like we say we do. It can't just be talk anymore. Willie D said, no more talk. It can't just be us saying it anymore. Because even when we say it, it doesn't feel real. Closing thoughts.
We're not finished.
We're not finished.
No, I got like 3 more paragraphs left.
Part 3.
Just 3 paragraphs.
Just the remainder of this episode then. We won't say part.
Yeah.
And Zing is gone, so we got to end this right. Stay tuned for the last little bit. And we too alone. Loop.